Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we're taking a look at a tiny little chihuahua sized box with a Rottweiler sized ferocious attitudes against security. Hello, and in today's video we're taking a look at another LOGIX PC offering. Now, LOGIX PCs we have covered on the channel before. We previously featured their Snow White build, which features the AMD Ryzen 8600G APU chip, a light gaming PC without a graphics card. If you want to check that video out, it will be linked in the description down below. However, for this video we're taking a look at something slightly different. We're not looking at the usual gaming aesthetic that we tend to focus on this channel. We're taking a look at something that's more for business and professional use. So if you're here looking for RGB and flashy lights and high performance gaming, this probably isn't the video for you. If, however, you are in the market for a new computer for your business, this is definitely one to watch. This particular PC is a nice compact unit, and it has cybersecurity and networking in mind. And in today's video we're going to take a look at exactly what you get. We're going to do something slightly different to the standard Gadget Joe format of videos. We're not going to set this up with a system, with a display and a monitor and a keyboard and whatever. We're not going to do that for this one because we don't really need to test the gaming function of this or the display output. I can just basically show you exactly what you get and then go through the details of the security software suites that are already included right out of a box as soon as you get this to your door. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the system itself, get a really close look at how it looks, how it performs, how it feels. Then we're going to open the case, look at exactly what you get inside, look at the build quality, and then also look at the components, because this is no slouch. Even though it looks quite plain and, dare I say it, quite boring, it's a very high performing setup. Now, its aesthetic does generally fit in with a business theme. It is just a simple black box with a few little details which we'll touch upon very shortly. But this one is, as I've mentioned earlier on in the video, very security conscious, because this system has been put together by the system integrators over at LOGIX. The guys are fantastic, they know exactly what they're doing, and they have really put a system together that is designed to make sure that whatever you do with this, it is going to be super secure, it's all going to be encrypted, and there's going to be no concerns of any data loss and of course any unwanted data access. So if you do have a business and you're looking for a setup, or you do already have a setup and you're looking for something that's a little bit better, this is definitely something to look at, because this is a system that is, as mentioned, designed for cybersecurity and networking. It does feature wired connection, and only wired connection. There's no wireless on this setup whatsoever, and that's because a wired internet connection is always going to be so much more secure than any form of over-the-air wireless connectivity. So for the purpose of this video, as I mentioned before, I'm going to be taking a look at exactly what you get inside, and then at the end of that we're going to draw a little conclusion to basically look at what this would be ideal for, who it would be ideal for, and then our final findings of this as well. The LOGIX S37161P is a security-conscious, business-minded powerhouse of a setup. Despite the slightly simplistic design and unobtrusive aesthetic, there are some very capable components packed into this tiny chassis. The case itself is super compact, coming in at only 32 centimeters by 28 centimeters and 9.5 centimeters thick. Small enough to fit into a recess neatly behind a monitor or on your desk. It's pretty weighty at 4 kilograms, which gives it some heft, but it's not enough to be an issue at all. The design is pretty minimal, with an all black colour and some little accents of blue on the USB 3 ports. It does have ventilation on the side panel, top panel, rear panel, and of course the front panel as well. The front panel takes advantage of a diagonal grille that is ideal for drawing air into the unit to keep it cool, whilst also giving it that little bit of flair to avoid it just being a boring black box. Granted, it's not designed to be a pretty system that is on show like a gaming setup, but it is nice to have some design features like this grille. There are recessed circles on the top, bottom and rear access of the panels, and these are allowing you to stick the included rubber mounting feet into your desired position to protect the unit and also elevate it ever so slightly off the surface for additional cooling, albeit slightly minimal, but every little bit helps after all. What's more is this is Logic's first ever own brand case, and it's something that the company are very proud of, and it's a good sign of things to come, knowing that they are working on some future products. Opening the side panel is super simple. All you have to do is take these two thumb screws here, take them off like this, make sure to keep them safe somewhere, and then there's a little blue toggle that you see here, and all you have to do then is just simply slide that along, and then the whole side panel will remove, like so. Once we're inside the case, it's quite reminiscent of the old classic Dell systems that you used to get in schools and offices, and it's also quite reminiscent of some OEM builds. Now, obviously it is an OEM build, so it's going to have this structure in place. What you'll find is that all these aluminium structures in here also double up as storage mounting, so there is space to mount an additional two 2.5-inch SSDs either here or along here. Alternatively, you can also put one 3.5-inch drive in there as well. It does come with an extra 4 SATA ports on the motherboard, and they do include some SATA cables in the box as well. What's more is this bracing that you see here also allows for nice efficient cable management as well. Everything is presented nicely. As you can see, it's very well cabled and managed. The key advantage over this system over something like the Dell system is that the motherboard that you get included on this is a standard motherboard, not a generic proprietary motherboard like you get in a lot of Dell systems, meaning that you can, if you need to, switch this out and replace it for something if needed, or if there's any problems with this, you can simply just take the components out as and when needed. The motherboard used here is a Gigabyte H610M S2HV2. A micro ATX board that has a nice black PCB and lots of future-proof features, starting with a processor. This board utilises the latest LGA 1700 socket that is equipped with a 12th gen i7-12700, a very capable chipset that has 12 cores and 20 threads, 8 of those being performance cores and 4 of them efficiency cores. The clock speed does come in at a 2.1 GHz base speed with a turbo boost of up to an impressive 4.9 GHz clock speed, with a 25 megabit Intel Smart Cache and a total 12 megabit L2 cache. Cooling the CPU is an Intel Laminar stock cooler. Not the most high performance cooler, but certainly enough for cooling this setup. It does look pretty nice too. You may notice there are no graphics cards in this setup, and that is because the 12700 features Intel's UHD 770 graphics built in, with 32 executable units delivering a clock speed of up to 1.5 GHz, meaning that it will run any multimedia intensive task you throw at it. Whilst not primarily designed for gaming, I did actually manage to run Fortnite on this system at 1080p with 40 to 60 frames per second, so it gives you an idea of the capabilities of the onboard graphics. Video playback, creation, photo editing, document creation, and more will be handled with ease. Memory isn't an issue either, as there is 16GB of Kingston Technology DDR4 RAM installed, running at 32 MHz with CL22 timing, presented in two 8GB sticks, so there's going to be no issues in terms of performance when undertaking all your essential work tasks. Storage is found in the form of a Kingston NV2 1TB NVMe SSD drive, a very reliable, tried and tested drive with Gen 4 technology, meaning that file transfer is super nippy with a write speed of 2100 MB and a lightning fast 3500 MB read speed. There are also, as mentioned earlier, a further 4 6GB SATA ports if you wish to expand your storage in the future. The package even comes, as mentioned, with SATA cables. Powering all of this is a 300 watt TFX power supply. Whilst not the biggest PSU, it's certainly more than enough for this system and any additional storage that you would put on the system. In terms of I/O, there are plenty of options available too. Starting with the front, we get two USB 2, two USB 3 ports, followed by a mic and headset port underneath. At the rear, you get PS2 keyboard and mouse ports, a VGA, a DVI, and a display port and HDMI port. You then get two USB 2 ports, two USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, and then an additional two USB 2 ports. You do get a Gigabyte RJ45 Ethernet port, and then finally the audio jacks at the bottom. There are points at the rear too to be able to put a Kensington lock into place to secure it down, and there is also an additional locking clip for the side panel that also doubles as a wiring management point too. In terms of displays, you can have up to 4 monitors running from a system with a maximum resolution of 4096 by 2160 at 60Hz over HDMI, or a boosted 7680 by 4320 if you use DisplayPort, also running at 60Hz. Ideal if you want to run multiple displays or if you wish to display it on a large screen for team briefings, meetings or group video calls. The system comes pre-installed with Windows 11 Pro straight from the distributors. All bloatware is removed, so all you have to do is set up your account and you're ready to go. It does also come with a plethora of security systems pre-installed to maximise the security of your documents, files, transfers and networking. The list of the suites included are on the screen now, so you can see exactly what to expect. And that's pretty much it in terms of the internals and the hardware used in this unit. As you can see, it is a very compact little unit. Now I do have quite large hands, but as you can see, they really do give a rough idea of just how compact this unit is. Expandability is always going to be an option, and it's something that Logix have really thought about too. Having the additional mounting points for those extra drives means that you can obviously add extra storage too. You do have the PCIe lanes on there as well, so that you can add some additional PCIe cards if needed, but bear in mind if you're going to add a graphics card to this, you are going to be limited on the amount of size that you do have, as the case is nice and compact, so you're going to be looking at a much smaller card. As I mentioned before, there is ventilation, as you can see, all around the case. At the back here, at the top there's also some just underneath, and then you have that ventilation on the front as well. There is also an additional 80mm fan at the front there, and even though it does sound quite small, it's definitely enough to keep this system cool. Even when I was putting it under a test, running Fortnite on this, again, not something that you would primarily be using this setup for, but I did it because I was reviewing a monitor and I decided to use this setup just to see how well it would actually perform. It ran everything nice and smoothly, actually performing the game really well, and it kept everything nice and cool. With having just that one fan, I know obviously there's another fan on the cooler as well, but with just those two fans, it was whisper quiet. It's super quiet, which is ideal for a business setup. When you've got it in your office, the last thing you're going to need is a setup with loads of fans wearing up and sounding like a jet plane's taking off. Putting the panel back on is super simple as well. Just make sure you've got it all lined up, make sure you turn it around, and then with that toggle again, just slide it across and then you can put it into place. Now obviously that does unlock it, but you can lock it if you need to. So all you need to do is tighten the screw. As I mentioned before, you can then lock the side panel into position. So if you don't want anyone to be able to get in there, there is a point here that you can put a little lock on, or alternatively a Kensington lock, and then make sure that everything is nice and secure. The fact that it does just have that one single RJ45 port also gives a nod to the fact that this is designed for security in mind. Inside the box you also get a little bag of accessories. Now to begin with, I'm going to take all the paperwork out, and that is simple paperwork such as an instruction guide and warranty card for the processor and the motherboard. And then you also have an installation manual that's been done by Logix themselves with some nice plain simple diagrams. This effectively shows you how to take things out to maintain it or change things out, or also where you need to add any extra drives. You do have the Windows licensing keys here, which I've covered up because obviously there is one on here. You also get a little sheet that is done by the guys over at Logix. And this is to basically show that everything is working as it should be and tested within the office. And you also get a little Logix hello and congratulations sheet of paper with some basic information of how to start everything up. Then you get a couple of little bags inside with some of the SATA cables, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and also some additional mounting screws and those feet that I mentioned earlier. These are nice little rubber rings that basically go into position in those recessed holes that we showed you earlier on in the video. And that pretty much wraps up this relatively short video on the Logix S37161P office system. Again, a system that is pretty much designed at business use or commercial use for those that have security in mind. If you really have some sensitive data, which most businesses will have, that you need to make sure is super secure, then this is definitely something you need to be looking at, because you can't stress how much cybersecurity is an issue. It's very simple nowadays for people to hack into a system, to get all your information from a system before you've even realised what's happened. It's all pretty much done. This does have all those concerns in mind. Just not having Wi-Fi on there, whilst in some instances sounds like a bit of a negative side of it, it does mean that there's no extra points of access for this computer setup. Having a hardwired setup means that all the inbuilt security software suites that the team have put into place allows the connection to be extra secure, and you know that everything is encrypted and safe. What's more is all the components that are built in this are obviously quite modern components, and they're quite high-end components as well, meaning that pretty much any task that you throw at it, it will work perfectly fine for. This is a system that is designed to run under high loads with lots of tasks running at the same time, with no concerns of slowing down at all. Obviously it's going to be super secure with all those software suites put into place, but it's also going to be future-proof for quite some time with that high-end processor in there, and obviously the 16 gigabytes of RAM, the 1 terabyte NVMe drive is more than enough for most people on a setup. The fact that you can expand it is a nice option to see. If you want to expand the storage on the setup, it's super simple to do. You do have those mounts on the case. As far as a case design itself goes, I know it's Logic's first case and it's quite a simple case, but it's quite effective too. It does have a quite modern aesthetic to it with that diagonal grille. Again, as a business setup, it's not designed to look flashy. It's not designed to stand out. It's designed to be kept out of the way, sort of doing its business in the background, keeping you safe, keeping everything running nice and smoothly. But it does definitely give a nod to what's to be expected from LOGIX. I know for a fact that they are working on some more cases in the very near future, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some of them to really see how they can do. What they've done here is they've built a system that is designed for pretty much what it's designed for, and that is, as I've mentioned multiple times in the video, cybersecurity and networking. And that's pretty much it. I did have it running, I did actually try gaming on it, and it performed really quite well. It's going to perform pretty much anything you throw at it, super efficiently, and it's just going to work. And that's something that, as a business owner or someone that's running a business, that's all you need. The fact that everything is going to be secure whilst you're doing it is just nothing but a bonus. So again, if you're looking for a new setup for your business and you want something that's going to be fast, that's going to be future-proof for a few years to come, at the very least, probably 3 or 4 years to come, that's going to last, and also you've got expandability options, and most importantly it's going to be super secure. This is a bit of a no-brainer in terms of practicality. The fact that you can just go to LOGIX and then all you have to do is press buy and everything is done for you the moment it arrives and it comes out of the box. Now I know there's arguments about making your own system. You could effectively make your own system much cheaper, but I'm a big advocate for pre-built systems because all the husbandry of the components, everything that needs to work as it should, and obviously all the compatibility issues are already worked out, ironed out, and done for you. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is pretty much click and buy and run it and use it. What's more is you do get a keyboard and mouse included. It is a Logitech MK120 bundle that features a Logitech K120 keyboard and a Logitech M100 mouse. Now, the only criticism I have here, and that's nothing to do with Logix, that's obviously Logitech themselves because that's who does the bundle. The mouse and the keyboard are both different colours. The keyboard is black and the mouse is grey, which is a bit strange, but again, they both function really well. They both work really well. They do work straight out of a box, and while it's not an expensive keyboard and mouse, they do perform pretty much as expected. And also the fact that the keyboard is nice and soft and silent as well is a big bonus in a setup that's going to be used in an office. So in terms of value, you can't go wrong with a pre-built system. This is obviously one done by LOGIX. I will leave a link in the description as to where you can go to get yourself one of them. If you're looking for something like this, there are plenty of options as well on the site for other ones if you don't really want to go something quite as high-end as this. But it's definitely something that I would probably recommend, especially if you do handle a lot of sensitive data. And that's pretty much it. Again, there's not a great deal I can really talk about. It's just a pre-built office PC. Again, no point me running it up and setting it up with a monitor and keyboard and mouse because you all know what a computer looks like. You know exactly now from this video what you get included. You know the capabilities of the hardware that's included. You also know the software suites that have been pre-installed by the guys over at LOGIX. The Windows 11 Pro that's on there is fantastic for business use, and obviously all the bloatware has been removed. You do get that keyboard and mouse included in the box, and as well as a few little accessories. The support from the team over at Logix is fantastic as well, and the guys are incredibly knowledgeable and they have a next level customer experience. So again, leave a link in the description below so you can go check one out for yourself. And that's pretty much it. I've been Gadget Joe. This has been the Logix S37161P. Again, link in the description to go check one out for yourself. And until next one, goodbye.